Mr. Antonio,
Here.
Mr. Badger,
Here.
Mr. Bleefeld, Ms. Kiavachi,
Here.
Mr. Golson,
Here.
Ms. Kirianikis,
Here.
Dr. Morris,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mrs. Ginsburg,
Here.
Isabel DaCosta,
Here.
Harrison Ernst.
Here.
Great, thank you. And will you please join me now for the Pledge of Allegiance? We're going to have some students come up and help me this evening. Thank you for your help, ladies. All right, I want to welcome everyone this evening to our February 24th meeting of the Wissahickon School Board. Taking a look at our agenda, we first list out our prior meetings. The board met on January 27th for a work session, February 3rd for a regular public meeting, February 10th for our finance committee, and February 18th for policy committee meeting and racial equity oversight committee meeting. And we list out our upcoming meetings. On March 3rd, we'll have our next regular public board meeting. March 10th is our finance committee meeting. March 17th, racial equity oversight committee meeting. And that's actually our community conversation at the Penland Woods Community Building. And then March 31st will be our next work session. And now we'll move into our presentation. And I understand we have a middle school student presentation this evening.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to have an impressive delegation from Wissahickon Middle School. And I'm not going to share out the topic. I'm going to let the principal of Wissahickon Middle School, Ms. Beth Bauer, do that. But we welcome our friends from the middle school.
Well, thank you for inviting us to present this evening. I'm really happy to be here with some members of our math department, specifically our math department chair, Mrs. Lee, Mr. Deckenbach, Mrs. Dungan, and Mrs. Felix. And they will be sharing along with their students some of the exciting things that are happening in our math classrooms at the middle school. So at this time, I'm going to turn over to Mrs. Lee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Lee, or Helen Lee, and I am the math department chair and an 8th grade math teacher. One of the highlights within our math department is our ongoing professional development around differentiated instruction. In 2017, the math department received professional development in cohorts to learn and grow in our understanding of differentiated instruction. Tonight, I have 2 students with me who will share a little bit about differentiated instruction and small group activities within our classroom. And first up, we have Fabricio.
Good evening, my name is Fabricio, and I'm here to talk about the positives of working in a small group and how the teacher can help the teacher understand and see where a student can be and can understand where a student's level of small group and help them for specific questions and understand their comprehension and where they stand. And working a small group for me, it helps me a lot because it's slower pace and helps me like improve a lot more with my progress and help me understand the concept of each day.
Good evening, I'm Gabby, and I'll be talking about 2 of the small group activities. The first and favorite activity is around the room activity. This activity is a fun extra practice and it gives us a break from sitting down because we move around. We can also work with partners to help review and understand the concepts. Here's an example of our activity. where you would start on one problem, solve it, and then look around the room for the matching answer. If you cannot find the answer around the room, then you know you made an error and need to try again. The second activity is the 3-column practice, where you choose the level of difficulty to practice. We like this small group practice because this activity gives us a choice in our review. Here is an example of the worksheet we recently completed. Right here is easier problems, middle level problems, and challenging problems. Thank you. And next, Ms. Felix and Ms. Duncan.
Good evening. My name is Karen Dungan and I'm the math specialist at Wissahickon Middle School. A group of my colleagues and I attended a professional development opportunity at Montgomery County Intermediate Unit that focused on the book Building Thinking Classrooms by Peter Liljedahl. During that training, we focused on most of our time on a strategy of using vertical, non-permanent workspaces to allow students to work in small groups on different mathematical tasks which have multiple answers and multiple ways to solve the problems.
Hi, my name is Min Felix. I'm the 8th grade teacher over at Wissahickon Middle School. I was going to talk a little bit about vertical thinking space and have my 3 students explain how this is beneficial and what it looks like. We have a couple examples that the students will work on. At this time, if Lizzie, Lily, and Steve come on up.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Hassa, and in math class, using vertical thinking space allows students to collaborate, move around, stay engaged, take ownership, and deepen understanding. It also encourages peer-to-peer learning, exploration of different methods, and enables mistakes to be removed in real time. Overall, vertical thinking space improves students' learning and allows risk-taking. In the proof activity, each group was divided into mixed abilities and the questions were in difficulty order. All groups were proving if 2 triangles are congruent using congruence theorems. The problems are approachable since not only were there different ways to solve, but there were multiple ways to answer the question.
It was less intimidating since everyone was focused on their own questions, so if mistakes were made, it could easily be erased and the group could try again. This was way better than everyone staring at you in front of the board. Mrs. Felix also walked around and gave hints to groups if needed, or groups nearby were able to get help from their peers.
Like in the classroom, pretend this is a question that's given, what they would do in a classroom setting. We could even have the board try as well. Put your skills to the test here.
We could start with 5 and 2. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, because we already used 5. Oh no. Yeah, and then yeah, so those are 2 ways you could solve this problem. And my whiteboard helped us because when we made mistakes, we could just erase them and we were together.
now Mr. Deckelbach and his math counts team.
Good evening. My name is Troy Deckelbach. I have been a middle school math teacher for 32 years and a math counts coach and advisor for 28 of those 32 years. I remember when I was first asked to do it, my fifth year teaching. And when you're a new teacher, they always tell you if your principal asks you to take a position, you just say yes. So I took that position. I had no idea what it was. For the first meeting, 5 students showed up, and they were there because they expected donuts, because that's what the previous coach had given them. 9 years later, I was in a position where I needed to switch school districts, and I came to Wissahickon, and I was excited that they did not have a math counts program at the time. So at that first meeting, instead of having donuts, I brought my wife's cookies, and about the same number of students showed up. And I am proud to say, many years later, we usually have to turn kids away. We have upwards of 50 or 60 kids that show up at our informational meeting every fall. So I'm not going to take away from the program itself, and the kids will do a great job talking about the program. But I did want to just quickly recognize we had a competition a week or so ago, and the team did quite well this year. So I wanted to recognize the 8 students that represented our school at the regional competition, and I'll give it over to 2 of the students in our program that will tell you more about what the Math Counts program is all about. So Gavin Bishop is here, and he'll be representing us at the state competition next month. On his team was Kyle Huang, Raymond Liao, and Chloe No. And also at the competition was Andrew Zhang, Uni Kim, Maya Chang, who's here tonight as well to talk about the club part of the program, and So Ambat, and they all did a wonderful job representing our school. And as I said, Gavin and maybe a couple more, we're a couple more students, we're waiting to hear about wild cards, will be in Harrisburg next month. I'm going to give it up to the students to explain a little bit more about
it. Hi, my name is Maya, and I'm currently in 7th grade. So I started math counts last year in 6th grade in the fall, and I'm going to be talking about the fall and spring part of math counts. So in the fall club, we work on different math stretches where we can interact and solve problems together. We explore new patterns and find new solutions and share them with each other. Math counts challenges us to think creatively and become better problem solvers, and we have a lot of opportunities to meet new people and build important relationships. In the spring club, we usually work on something called the Gold Level Project, where Wissahickon Middle School is the only club in Pennsylvania to have earned the gold level status for past 17 consecutive years. The Gold Level Project is basically a group project where you can choose to either do a community service project, an instructional video, or an art project. And my group last year chose to create an art painting where we basically created a replica of Sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh. And for the art project, we had to include different math elements. So an example would be how the number of petals on each sunflower are 5 consecutive terms in the Fibonacci sequence, and how the center of the sunflowers, the diameter of those, are the first 5 digits of pi in centimeters. So the Gold Level Project is really fun and enjoyable to create. And math counts for me has really shaped my first couple of years in middle school, and I hope more students will get a chance to experience what I have in math counts. Thank you.
The competition season in math counts starts right before Thanksgiving with an in-school competition where club members take time tests. These time tests consist of algebra, geometry, and other math concepts in a time-pressured environment. After these contests, a smaller group of students is chosen to meet 2 times a week after school to prepare for the chapter competition, which is basically a bunch of schools from Montgomery County competing with students in their math counts programs. 2 weeks before the competition, we have a group of 8 students meet every day after school to work on a lot of contest-like preparation. At this year's competition, there were over 160 students from about 20 schools. In the morning, we did the time test on paper, and then after lunch, they called the top 10 individual scores into the auditorium for a countdown round, where it's a 1v1 buzzer rounds, where the top 10 scores are ordered by score. So 10th best score faced off against 9th best score, the winner faces off against 8th best score, and so on, all the way until there's one contestant remaining. Whoever buzzed in first with the correct answer and did that multiple times would win the round. And the problems we would have to solve would be problems such as the one on the board there, where the way you would solve a problem like that quickly would be Amy can paint a wall in 20 minutes and Joseph can paint the same size wall in 15 minutes. If they work together, how many minutes will take them to paint one wall this size? Express your answer to the nearest 1 minute. Amy would be able to paint one wall in 20 minutes, so that'd be 3 walls in the span of an hour. Just can paint the wall in 15 minutes, that'd be 4 walls in the span of an hour. So if you combine those rates, that's 7 walls per hour when they work together. And expressed in minutes, that'd be 60 minutes for 7 walls. So for 1 wall, it would be 60 divided by 7 minutes, which is 8 4/7 minutes. Rounded to the nearest 1 minute, that's 9 minutes. The competing in front of an auditorium full of people in these problems can be very intense, but is also very fun. I really like math counts, and the competitive environment is kind of like a sports team, and the fact that we practice together and we compete against other schools.
Those are some of the highlights of the great work that we're doing here within the middle school math department. And I just want to thank my colleagues, thanks all the students and their bravery for coming up here and speaking. And thank you for the board tonight for having us.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was great. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Dia?
Did I miss, how are we, what's a gold level stat? How do you achieve gold level status?
You can you can choose a problem to solve, and then, I mean, you can choose to create a project, and then you could submit it in this contest thing, and you can get rewards for it, and you just achieve it.
That's really cool. Congratulations on the long streak of gold medal status. That's amazing. And thank you, Mr. Deckebacher. Thank you. Thank you so much for leading that club. That's amazing. Great job, everyone. Thank you.
And can I see your painting up closer? Would you mind bringing it up? I was just last weekend, I was talking to my kids about Fibonacci sequence, when we were talking about cactus plants, and no one took any interest in it. I'm so excited to have somebody take interest in it. This is amazing. How wonderful.
This conversation you had at dinner, or what was it?
No, we were in Arizona
Oh, okay.
and we were looking at cactus plants.
Okay.
And I started to bring this up and no one took any interest in this conversation. No one. Thank you, Deanne. But I'm excited that someone is taking interest in the Fibonacci sequence. All right, anyone else?
Yeah, just a,
Yeah.
sorry, just a quick comment. All the presentations we get at these board meetings are fantastic. But normally they stick on one topic. You guys gave a great presentation of the overall field for math and middle school. So thank you. It was really comprehensive.
Yeah, and I have to say, I don't remember the last time we had a middle school presentation, so I'm loving that we had a middle middle school presentation. That's amazing, and I love all the interest, and you know, I'm gonna be a little biased. I love that there's so much female representation on the math team.
All right, anyone else? Comments? No? All right, well, guys, I know you're probably not that age where you want to get pictures with adults, but I always like to get a picture with our students that come in. So hopefully you will humor me and do a picture with some of us. Yes? Oh my goodness, yay. Okay, my kids would have said no. Thank you.
Squeeze in a little bit, guys.
You guys are certainly welcome to stay, or you can go and grab some cookies on the way out. It's the rest of the meeting is just as exciting. All right, well, they're not going to get to hear the Wissahickon High School monthly highlights. Sorry, guys.
Hey guys, oh yeah, that's gonna be tough to follow for sure. But there's been some great stuff at the high school. We had or also the middle school, I guess, because we had our Lunar New Year festival over at the middle school, which is awesome. Dr. Juan, I know you stopped by, checked it out. That was great. Also awesome was our Eagles pep rally. That was so cool. You know, I'm not from here, so the whole Philly sports thing is new to me. And I couldn't believe like the spirit people have. We had our 9th grade career expo, which was then open to older students at the end of the day, but I know that went well. And then my favorite highlight so far is bonus block. I mean, I can't tell you guys how much I love bonus block. It's a great time, and I know like people utilize it. Like if you'd asked me before, I thought like no one's coming in. I don't, but there's a lot of students that go and utilize it and go to teachers and like get a lot of goodness out of it. Or even like there's physical activities in the gyms and stuff. And then what does it say here? Oh, dude, Reed Harris, athlete of the month at Wissahickon. So that's awesome. And segueing that is West Boys and Girls Swim. Some of our students went to districts and out in York over the weekend. And they all rocked the house. Like we had a couple first places. I didn't see anyone that got lower than 2nd or 3rd. But my good friend Sophie Newdeck went. She rocked it, got a bunch of PRs, and I'll let Isabel take it from there.
Yeah, and continuing with that, Reed Harris also made districts. Not a surprise. He's been doing really well. And again, continuing with that middle school streak, BSU, our Black Student Union, and HLA, our Hispanic Latino Association, they also went to middle school for this diversity day. And they went on separate days, but basically they covered multiple different middle schools, if I'm not wrong. And they basically just presented, their club. So letting them know, like, hey, once you join a high school, like that support and that affinity club is there for you. And then we also had our mini-thon, which was super, we're gonna have it coming up. We're super excited for that. And I know like all the mini-thon officers are really excited for that because every single year, it's always trying to beat that, money that we made last year. And also bouncing on that Eagles pep rally, we had a theme which was tackling hunger. So we would bring in like canned foods and all that. And like I am from Philly, so I love seeing that, Eagle spirit carry on. I'm not a diehard Eagle fan, but anything Philly related, you'll see me there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's great. Awesome. Kristen, where are you from? If you're not from Philly.
Oh, yeah, no, I moved here 2 days before my freshman year. I grew up in Miami. So the whole cold thing is new to me. I don't like it. However, this week is great and awesome. I don't know if you guys saw that. We have like 58-degree highs. I biked to work today. And, just getting outside where I can. But yeah, no, Pennsylvania is not familiar to me at all.
All right, well, thank you for that report, guys.
Can I elaborate on some swimming details?
Sure.
So I watched the meet on YouTube, the whole meet, because I love swimming. And Reed was second in the 200 and first in the 500 districts. He blew away the field actually in the 5. And I have to say, like, this meet is so competitive. The District 1 AAA meet is faster than a lot of state meets. Like, it's so fast. It's crazy. And then he was in 2 relays that placed 9th and 10th. He, along with Team Barber, Dean Bowers, and Logan Bruno. And on the girls' side, senior Nora Weber was 7th in the 200, and she also won the 500, also sort of taking commanding lead. So again, it's really impressive, and I'm looking forward. They have the state meet in 3 weeks, and I can report back how they do that there, because I'll watch it again. No, I don't go, but I'll watch it. I'll watch it online.
I thought it was notable. We had a meeting on Friday sometime to be prepared for these. And Reed was like, yeah, I'm like so excited for districts. Like my goal is to place top 3 in my events. And I was like, dude, like he's so humble. Like this kid's obviously going to get top 3 in his event. And he got first place and second.
And he led off the 200 freestyle relay, and his split would have placed him 3rd overall in the 50.
Is that right?
He's incredible. Very impressive.
Fast guy. He's also, when I first met this kid, he was like at my shoulder. And now now I'm like looking at his chest. This kid is so tall now. So he's only getting better.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question. Harrison, you were mentioning bonus block. Can you remind me what bonus block is again?
Yeah, so on day 5 and 6, we have moved IE/office hours, that kind of 40-minute block to the start of the day. So now, like today, for example, we entered at, I think 8:21 is the time you're supposed to go in. And it's optional. So the buses run at the same time. So if you don't have a ride, you still have to take them. But you can come in anytime during that window, whether you use it to stay home and sleep or go in for extra help. And it's really awesome. Great.
Great. Yeah, everyone seems to think of it as a big hit for the schedule. So
we really, 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 really want it in the 4th bargain period.
Yeah.
Just so
glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, put it out there.
Yeah, the other day I saw a whole bunch of people, and Mr. Dan and Mrs. Carabins, they both work in the math department. Because I was with Mrs. Moore and she told me to deliver something to Mr. Dannon. So I walk in, his class is packed. Like I don't know how he does it, but props to him, And even like the science teachers, everyone. Even I saw Mr. McKenna sometimes. He helps. He does English. He would miss it, think, oh, it's just for science and math. No, it's also for everyone. It's really cool. And yeah, today I came in because I had physics. But I honestly love it though, because now I don't have to do IE for physics. I just do it in the morning, get it over with. I like the class though, so yeah.
Great, thanks.
Any other comments or questions? All right, well, thanks again, guys. Oh, yes,
Just a comment. I'm so proud of how this is evolving, like the students are using their own judgment and their own kind of approach to this, which I think is going to just set them up for success when they move past Wissahickon High School, whatever they, decide to do. And, a lot of them are taking advantage of coming in later because I dropped off Evan because Mia had the car. And let me tell you, there was a lot of kids showed up at 8:21. But I love that we are teaching, use your own judgment, pick your schedule, kind of do what fits for you. So I love that too. I love that element. So.
Wonderful. Anything else? Well, great. Thank you again. And we'll move into our third presentation this evening, Black History Month recognition. This evening, we're so proud and excited to have Ms. Latour join us to share some of the highlights of what we see in our schools. Thank you for being here, Ms. Latour.
Thank you for having me here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present how WIS Nation is not only recognizing but celebrating Black History Month. So again, it remains very true and important that although this is a moment to highlight the wonderful achievements and contributions of Black Americans in our nation, that these influential Black Americans who are inventors and scientists, surgeons, doctors, mathematicians, politicians, writers, and leaders be included in the curriculum all year long. So I'm going to start with some highlights from Bluebell Elementary. There were many things that were done to celebrate and honor Black History Month. Tonight, I'm going to celebrate a few things, lift up a few things that they did do. So starting at Bluebell with second graders, they had the opportunity to complete research projects. During their research, students then turned their research into PowerPoint presentations, which they shared with their classmates. Third grade students completed a variety of activities celebrating Black History Month, such as some classes were engaged in conducting research on historical Black figures. Other classes read a book of the day, fiction or nonfiction, while some classes read and wrote book reviews by Black authors or books with Black characters. In fourth grade, students read literature by Black authors and conducted research. Additionally, our fourth and fifth grade students participated in the presentations facilitated by our high school Black Student Union. In music classes, students had the opportunity to embark on a journey through the fascinating history of Black musical heritage. Students explore the vibrant sounds of Trombone Shorty, reading his book and exploring his unique blend of jazz, funk, and hip hop. Students also performed some dances and bucket drum routines to his music. Students explore the soulful world of Motown, learning about iconic artists like Stevie Wonder and the Supremes and listening to their music. Students found themselves immersed in the history of jazz, tracing its roots from New Orleans and experimenting with improvisational techniques, using classroom techniques and instruments to mirror Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington. These activities that students participated in helped them to learn the profound impact of Black American musicians, and they developed their own musical skills and creativity while doing so. At Lower Gwinnett Elementary overall, we had a lot of research-based activities. And so our kindergarten students created artwork inspired by Alma Woodsey Thomas, a Black American artist and teacher who lived and worked in Washington, D.C., best known for the colorful abstract paintings that she created. Students listened to the story entitled Alma's Art by Rhoda Ahmed, inspired by Thomas's work, which describes Alma Woodsey Thomas's use of color. Students then created their own collage abstracts. The first grade team also joined their buddy classes to learn about famous Black Americans who have made significant impacts in history. Through reading and discussion, the students not only discovered the accomplishments of these influential individuals, but also explored valuable lessons about respect, inclusion, and leaving a positive mark on the world. Students then shared their thoughts on how they could make a difference in their own community, our school community as well. They were tasked with this question: what can we do to include others? How can we show respect and leave a positive impact on the world? Some students talked about standing up for classmates who might be left out, while others promised to be kind and to help others when needed. Second grade students also had an opportunity to research. They were able to delve into learning more about Black inventors and artists and musicians, actors and athletes and astronomers, and more. Students then had the opportunity to create a PowerPoint or a Canvas slide to show their final project and share what they created. Students also read about the person who they researched and read about them during their morning announcements to share with the entire school community. Second graders also had the opportunity to create biography projects. Students self-selected an individual who was influential, and they then took notes about the person's life and contributions and created a slide deck in their Canva or PowerPoint to share with the rest of the community. The biography reports that they created are placed on display in the hallway. And so if you were to go to Laura Guetta Elementary today, they had a gallery walk. And so all of the projects that the students invested in are actually displayed in the hallways. And so students were invited to do a gallery walk. And so they took a tour. It was very informative and enlightening for those students. And if you have a chance to get to Laura Gwinnett, you'll be able to see the wonderful work that is displayed throughout the hallways. So Shady Grove Elementary. Students in all grades again completed research on the contributions of Black Americans. Students then shared this key information about each person's life and the impact, proudly showing their finished projects. And these are also displayed in the hallway of Shady Grove Elementary. Informational pennants were also created as a result of the research that students created. These are showcasing students' findings, and each student selected a notable individual, gathered the key facts about their contributions, and designed a colorful pennant featuring images and quotes and important details about this individual. In second grade, students honor the past by sharing the contributions of contemporary and historical figures in Black history. Students featured time periods of the individual, highlighting what the person accomplished. We also had students in music classes in grades K through 2 practicing a musical arrangement by Chai Chai Kulai, which is a traditional African folk song. Students in 5th grade class were also introduced to the artwork of Basquiat, an African-American artist renowned for his work in the 80s. The students then emulated his neo-expressionism style, creating Valentine's Day bags, which are displayed in the hallway and were later used to collect Valentines. Every student at Shady Grove Elementary had in hand in the creation of a school-wide mural. You'll see the hands in the upper left corner, and also centered is that image of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Students had the opportunity to read about and honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Students read about his work and then participated in lessons. That commitment was very important to serving their community. And so at Shady Grove, students and staff introduced students to how they could help and serve in the Shady Grove community by beautifying a space. And so the space is going to entail the hands that you see in the upper left corner, along with the centering mural of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And so all 700 students at Shady Grove Elementary spent the week making their mark and lending their hands to make a mural or mosaic honoring the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so that is a work in progress. However, it'll be done shortly. So if you have time to visit Shady Grove, you'll be able to see that mural. So at Stony Creek Elementary, in our library classes, students were able to read biographies by Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. and learned about important aspects of Black history, such as the Civil Rights Movement, the Montgomery bus boycotts, and the Underground Railroad. In second grade, students researched influential African-American individuals, and they engaged in a writing assignment to share their findings. Students in 4th grade had the opportunity to participate in an author study on Jacqueline Woodson, Brown Girl Dreaming. So at the middle school, we have art at play. And so our 8th grade art students examine works from artists such as Bearden and Field, both of whom are incredibly talented collage artists. Students drew inspiration from these artists and their work to create their own mixed media collage drawings. Students in 7th grade math classes researched famous Black mathematicians. In technology education classrooms, students were provided with opportunities to produce documentary style videos based on special events, holidays, and monthly celebrations. This time around, of course, they recognized Black History Month, aspects from our cultural calendar. And so during the month of February, these videos were played on WMS-TV for all students and staff to view. This type of activity promotes the school's 3 R's of respect, responsibility, and relationship by allowing students to view the world from another person's perspective. Additionally, Black History Month is highlighted on various LED displays throughout the entire school building. This is a photograph of Wissahickon Middle School's library. There are various books written by and about famous Black Americans that are highlighted in the library, along with bookmarks recognizing famous Black Americans. The book display that we're seeing here, representative of the middle school, is one that we would see across every single building in the district. So all of our elementary schools, if we were to go into the library, we would see a similar display. At our high school, we would also see a similar display. So we wanted to just highlight this. So for our high school, as noted earlier today, our BSU students have been very active in working collaboratively with the building principals at the elementary schools and visiting the elementary classrooms to provide a wonderful and rich education around Black History Month. The high school's BSU uses the principle of lifting while we climb. And this is by Mary Church Terrell, 19th century Black educator, civil rights activist, and founder of the National Association of Colored Women, in building community and purpose, promoting education, and support through connections. The BSU visited these elementary schools sharing a message celebrating Black achievement. In collaboration again with the elementary principals, the BSU sent as many as 10 students to each of the elementary schools to model reading and to engage in a short grade level appropriate learning activity that showcased Black culture and achievement. The BSU is also hosting a movie night and a cookout in the Square Gym to culminate the month's activities. In TV Lab, students have been preparing a segment each day focused on Black History Month and trivia questions to go along with it to complement the efforts of the students. The high school participated also in a school-wide service MLK Day project, creating 10,000 cards to send to local children. In the English department, there were various activities that took place, many learning lessons that happened around texts that were in place, such as The Great Gatsby, focusing on discussions of an anti-Black racism. There was literature circles featuring books by Black Americans such as James Baldwin, Jacqueline Woodson, and Ralph Ellison, along with Walter Dean Myers. There was also appreciation and time spent learning about African-American poets. Students also were introduced to the lives and works of prominent Black poets whose collective works went on to inspire countless artists. Students continued to read many things such as Sula and other texts, and in doing so, they created web quests focusing on topics such as what Black towns were in the 1900s, 1919 to 1941 to be exact, examining and exploring Black soldiers and Black labor challenge, along with the civil rights movement of 1965 and colorism, and Morrison's biography. In health class, students had the opportunity to explore the contributions of prominent African-American female doctors who have made lasting impacts on the medical field. Students learned about Dr. Jane Cook Wright, an oncologist who pioneered innovative chemotherapy treatments, Dr. Marie Maynard Daly, the first African-American woman to earn a PhD in chemistry, whose research laid the groundwork for understanding hypertension. Dr. Patricia Bath, who developed a groundbreaking laser cataract surgery technique. And Dr. Kennedy, the first African-American woman to become a neurosurgeon in the United States. As part of the lesson, students research additional Black physicians who have had a significant influence on modern medicine, directly improving quality of life and life expectancy. In our world language department, students had an opportunity to do a research project on famous Afro-Latinos, and students created a biography of the person to present to their classmates. There were other things that they focused on in French class, such as making sure to study John Lewis and Nelson Mandela as they concluded and continued to work on their Black History Month presentation. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share some of the wonderful work that we've done to not only recognize to celebrate Black History Month across the district. There's a wealth of things happening at each building that you can visit and see or to learn more about. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. It's so wonderful to see all the great things that our students and faculty are doing in our buildings. And every year, it seems like it's more and more and more that we're doing. So that is so wonderful. And I wrote down to talk to Jim about setting up some times to go visit our buildings to go see these great things. So I'm going to do that because this is amazing. So it sounds like a great time to go visit. Anyone else have any comments or questions? No? Oh, yeah. Person.
I am so looking forward to the BSU cookout tomorrow. It's like the highlight of the year. I went last year and it's so good and fun and like there's food and dancing and music and it's just a great time. And it's tomorrow after school. So I'll see all of you there and we're gonna bust it down, all right?
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on now to our first public comment period, and no one's registered in person and no one online? No one online. All right, then we'll move on to our board president report, and I have no informational or action items this evening. Superintendent report.
Thank you. Just a short update on the search for the assistant superintendent. Since the last update to staff and families that was sent out, update number 2, that was sent out, I think, on February 13th. That was prior to the final round of interviews, and I'm just thrilled to share that we have found a candidate. The board has met with this candidate, and the candidate's identity will be made public on Thursday with the agenda for Monday's meeting, so that we can all know at that time. And no, neither Harrison or anybody else from the high school knows. Sorry. But the good news is this candidate rose, and we'll talk about this a little bit more on Monday, but rose from a very rigorous application process and search process that took a lot of time on the part of a lot of district leaders and district staff as well. So we're not going to name all the people who participated, but I do want to say that we should recognize their efforts because, as you will see, you'll know on Thursday, you'll see on Monday, the process yielded a tremendous result. So we're very much looking forward to sharing that name with everyone on Thursday.
Great, thank you, Jim. And any comments or questions? All right, assistant superintendent report.
Thank you. I just have one informational item this evening, just to share about our professional development in February. So the faculty members, the professional staff engaged in various experiences and opportunities at the building level. Much of that centered data-driven conversations, looking at data, making decisions around data. Some of them were data team meetings. Some of them were using their data to identify resources and instructional practices that they were looking to apply to small group instruction for interventions. So the afternoon on that Thursday, the 13th, teachers spent a lot of time diving into data. But we also had professional development for our support staff on the afternoon of February 13th, and I'd like to highlight that as well. So our elementary and secondary instructional support staff spent time learning about the legalities of special education and making sure that everyone is up to date on the latest regulations and best practices. They also engaged in a learning session that focused on neuroscience and how neuroscience supports children's emotional health and resilience, which we know is an important focus for developing students' well-being. The secretarial and clerical staff completed 3 self-paced learning modules on online security and safety. And that was followed by an in-person session on integrating AI in office environments. So they seemed to enjoy that learning opportunity. Our custodial staff took part in training related to various regulations that are essential for their roles. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who helped to make these sessions a success, especially Ms. Kazaya Latour, who helps to coordinate the support staff training. She taps into all of the departments and directors and solicits input from support staff to see what are the areas that they need, and then coordinates with all of our team to make those happen, those sessions happen. Additionally, I want to give a special shout out to Diane Krause and Jason Falcon, who helped with the technology elements. There was a lot of AI learning happening. So thanks to everyone that helped to make that happen. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you so much. Any comments or questions?
Maybe a little premature, but any thoughts around like how we think we're going to integrate AI into either teaching or learning or how to use or any of that fun stuff? I know it might be a little soon to say.
Not premature at all. Thank you for the question. So for the past couple of years, we've been engaging our leadership team and our teaching staff in learning about AI. And our technology department, of course, has been critical in helping to facilitate these conversations. Again, shout out to Diane Krause and Jason Falcon and all of our team members who have been really working diligently to ensure that our staff are informed and aware, and also thinking critically about what does it look like to use AI as an educator to help us as educators, to be better at differentiated instruction, working smarter, not harder. I mean, that's what AI is about. But the conversation has also included how do we help students understand ethical use of AI? And those are critical conversations that are happening and need to happen and will continue to happen in terms of engaging our students and knowing how to use these resources that are absolutely intended to be and can be very useful, but also needs guardrails to make sure that we're using it ethically. So it's a great question. Thank you. Yeah, and so this session helped to provide the learning for our support staff, which is the next sort of step in our professional learning opportunities. So we were grateful to have that opportunity to engage them in the thinking around AI. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? No? All right, then we'll move on to our board solicitor report.
Board members will be called upon to vote on item 10.1, which is an approval of a special education settlement agreement between family B and student number B25, subject to the terms set forth in 10.1.
Great, thank you. And just to be clear, and either for Jeff or Dr. Dewan, the 163, that is going to be paid out over the course of 3 years. That's not a lump sum, right?
That is correct. That's for the remainder of this school year and the 25-26 school year and the 26-27 school year.
Great.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Great, then we'll move on to the board secretary report. Tim?
The minutes for approval this month are the January 21st REOC meeting, the January 27th work session, and the February 3rd voting.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, board treasurer report.
For your approval this month will be the January 2025 treasurer's report.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions? Great, seeing none, thank you again. Human resources report, Danielle.
Good evening, everyone. For your reviews tonight are 4 items under section 13 of the Human Resources Report. The first 2 action items include resignations, retirements, appointments, changes of status, leaves of absence, and volunteers. Item 13.3 is an agreement with Explorations for some interim administrative support while an assistant principal at Stony Creek is on a leave of absence. And item 13.4 includes new extracurricular clubs at the high school and middle school. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Danielle. Any questions or comments?
I'm going to say more about this when the time comes, but Marianne Slater is retiring this year. She's been, I believe this is her 34th year in the district, and she is the most phenomenal teacher and human being that I think I've ever come across. And I'm going to cry when I talk about her later. I hope she shows up to the retirement meeting. I don't know if she doesn't know, but I just wanted to make the comment that she is going to be so sorely missed. And I am just so grateful for all of her years of service and all the teachers too, all their years of service. But then that my kids got to have her as a teacher. She is just phenomenal. So I'm sad to see her go, but I know it. I know she wants to retire and that's okay.
So a comment and a question. My first comment is for Mr. Happy. Did I say it wrong? I always say it wrong.
It should
Okay, but Mr. Happy, like, I've only recently met him and he is just someone, I'm so fond. My children had the pleasure of kind of getting to know him and having classes with him. He actually runs the civics group at the high school. And my son is an officer for that group and he got, this was in Jim's note, but he had Madeline Dean come in. And Evan said he thought both kids attended that, but Evan told me that he was so impressed by that. So many people showed up now. Mr. Happy is also a smart man. He always has food. It's a good way to lure them in. But what he has taught from a civics perspective is profound. Like, I don't think I ever had that experience in school. So I'm so fortunate that my kids got a chance to experience that. Big shoes to fill, whoever takes on or takes over. So sorry to see him go, but you know, we understand, of course. And then I love this 13.4 idea about having a student organization of mental health awareness. I love it. Would love to hear a little bit more about it. You guys probably don't know any details, but if we could get like a little blurb, like how this came about, what they're trying to do, that would be amazing. I think having students kind of be peers for other students who might need kind of that safe place to talk about this stuff is tremendous, which is what I'm envisioning this is, but that
So
was
Zeppi,
such
I
a
do have a
nice-
little blurb if you'd like.
Okay.
It's in the job description. Provide a safe space for both students and teachers to discuss mental health issues and share resources and support. The club will provide students, teachers, and the community with a greater sense of belonging. This club aims to spread awareness on mental health issues too, and to reduce the stigma surrounding mental health.
That's great. That's really, really great. It's at the high school, right? I read that right. High school. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry.
No, just to echo the comments on Mr. Happy for also Mr. Shoemaker. Just echo.
And now I gotta say my little bit about Mr. Happy too. My twins had Mr. Happy for an economics class, which economics is not called dismal science for nothing, but he made that subject super interesting, and they loved the class, and he is, for both of them, one of their I think top 3 teachers of their entire career at Wissahickon. So that's great. And Mrs. Barlow, by the way, was my son Ian's kindergarten teacher way back in the day. So sad to see her go as well. But definitely Mr. Happy is someone special. It's too bad future high school students won't be able to benefit from his classes, but yeah, he's fantastic.
All right, so this is just awesome. When I came into this room, I was like, I'm gonna make my first board comment at the end of the thing. I'm just gonna talk about Mr. Happy the whole time. I mean, evidently you guys all know how special of a guy he is, but I think, like, you know, as a student now, I don't think, extraneous to his innate ability to teach someone, I don't think I've ever known a better man. There's been so many pivotal events in my life during this senior year, and like, he's been the person I rely on. And you know, I sent him this email one time about, I'd gone through one thing after the next, and I sent an email to my teachers where I said, like, listen, like, I know this isn't the student I am, like, this has been tough, and eventually you have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And the way he responded to me, I will never forget it. I have this email printed out and taped on my wall. It just touched me so deeply. So I think far and wide, the most profound impact that I've had in my life at Wissahickon will be and will always be Mr. Happy. So I can't put enough words to the impact him being gone will have on our school.
Harrison, thank you for sharing that. That's So nice of you to share that with us.
He's, I mean, like, it's,
Somebody make sure he gets to see this clip.
oh, man. Oh, I also did want to mention about Mr. Heppy. He's also he's an author, which is super cool. He writes all these books. And he has a new one coming out soon called Gift of Shadow. So if any of you guys are big readers, I'm sure you would be interested. He read a little bit of an excerpt to our class and it seemed pretty cool. So as soon as that hits the shelves, I'll be definitely picking up a copy.
I want to comment on Mr. Shoemaker. He's not my A+ teacher, but he's also an amazing teacher. When I was, coming into the district, I did not spend a single year prior to high school at Wissahickon. Recall that, I'm from Philly, so I came from a Catholic school system. We weren't like too close to our teachers. I don't know if that was like a norm or taboo or whatever, but I didn't know anyone. I went to the freshman ice cream social thing and I saw this man and I didn't talk to anyone, even though it was a social. And Mr. Shoemaker, he came up to me. And the only thing we talked about throughout that whole entire session was history, because that's my favorite subject. And he said, I'd love for you to be in my class. So I asked him, what courses do you teach? He's like, well, I teach juniors. And, I was a freshman, like, oh, that's like a really long time. I'm a junior now. I do not have him, unfortunately, but I also really love Mrs. Moore as a teacher. So if I could have both of them as my teachers, that'd be awesome. Because honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them, but I have so many good experiences with Mr. Shoemaker. One time I lost a jacket freshman year because I lose everything, and he saw me visibly worried. I was going up the stairs. I probably had like a really huge weird face on I had like a face expression. And then he asked me like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I lost my jacket. Next couple days, every time he see me in the hallways, like, oh, I'm looking for your jacket. I'm looking for your jacket. It was actually at home. And then, I told him, hey, Mr. Shoemaker, it was at home. And he's like, oh, I was so worried. But the fact that I'm not his student, I'm a freshman. He was part of Westlake still, but he went out of that way to, worry about other students. That's part of the reason why I joined Westlake, because of his impact. I'm sad to see him go. And like every time I walk into psych, his room is adjacent to Mr. Nabitson. So I love psych, but I always have like this conversation with Mr. Shoemaker before going in. He asked me like, how's your A+ class going? And it's not to not appreciate Mrs. Moore, but like she really does. But Mr. Shoemaker's awesome too. Like, I wish I could be in both their classes at the same time. I would definitely take A+ twice just to, have a chance with him. I'll miss him for sure.
Just like to add that we've heard a lot of testimony about the impact that social studies teachers have on students. It's been civics, yes, economics, and certainly history. So this has been my favorite meeting of the year.
Someone please show this clip.
A former civics teacher. Any other comments?
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
Someone please show this to all the teachers so they can.
Oh,
I would love for them to hear it instead of me just, or Harrison walking up like, hey, go onto the YouTube. So, but yeah.
We'll have to make sure they get the link to this.
Maybe we could have the students come to the retirement meeting, and maybe say, I don't know, if the teachers are gonna come. I don't know, it's just an idea.
Hopefully they'll be there. All right, well, moving on, the communications committee, Zephy.
A couple of informational items. On March 1st and 8th, Amy and we haven't determined which one we're each doing, but March 1st, there's a Read Across America at Bluebell, and on March 8th, there's a Read Across America in Ambler, the library. It's geared to pre-K, children. But it's open to the public and it's at 11 o'clock. Also in that vein, I don't know if you all remember, but last year for Read Across America, we tried to go into the different elementary schools and do guest readers. We're doing that again this year. This year we have Amanda helping us with the coordination of that. So if you're interested, you could coordinate with her and you could go into whatever school on whatever day that correlates with that. We preliminary, like we did, Kristen and I talked about redoing the flyers and the tax bills this year. We heard very positive feedback from our tax collectors on that. So obviously it's very soon. That doesn't go out till later, but they are starting those conversations, and obviously we would want us to land where we're going to land with the school taxes. And then we are also launching, I think next week, to be honest, Dr. Dewan or Dr. Chrisfield. The budget video is going to be launching next week. So we did kind of something similar as we did for the what's the school board or what does the school board do. So it's kind of in that similar vein. So that will be launching next week, and that too will live under the finance section of our website so that that information is there. And then as we get further along in the process, we're going to do an update. Steve and I kind of chatted a little bit. Maybe we wouldn't do another video, just like try to use another medium, another way to present that information. So more to come, but it's still early, but just wanted to give you all a heads up that the communications group is kind of ensuring that we're informing the community about these great things. So that's it for me. Any questions?
Great. I don't, does anyone else? All right, well, thank you so much, Steffi. And yeah, I have to get back to you on the date, but I'm really looking forward to doing the reading. Also, great. All right, well, moving on to curriculum and technology, Dan.
I'm going to let Dr. Dewan take this one. Thank you.
Thank you. This evening, we have 3 items for review. These items will be on the agenda next week, at which time we'll seek board approval. The first is approval of outplay services for student that is indicated in the chart for item 15.1. The second is approval to award a bid for the purchase of surplus computers and equipment. And so the bid tabulation is listed in there under 15.2, as well as the awarding bid. And the third is approval of the 2025 through 2028 comprehensive plan. This item was an informational item during the last board cycle, and it has been up on public review for the mandatory 30 days, or actually a little longer than that. And so this cycle will be seeking board approval. And that concludes our report.
And Dr. Dewan, do we have any public comment regarding that comprehensive plan? Public comment. We had it up for public review. Did we receive any comments regarding it?
We have not received any comments during the 30-day period, no. Aside from wonderful questions and comments from board members. Aside from that, we have not, no.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you for that report. We'll move on then to facilities and transportation. Joe?
Thank you. No informational items this evening. We have 2 items up for vote for next week. And I'm going to ask Tim to give us a quick summary on each.
Sure. The first one is for the landscaping contract for 25-27. This was put out to bid. The winners of each year are noted in the tab. Second one is to award the high school stadium bleacher replacement project to Grace Industries. This is with a base bid of $2.9 million and 2 alternatives that the district accepted for a total of $3,070,972. The stadium bleachers are in need of repair. The initial projected cost was $2.75 million, but due to the increase in costs and prices and despite the strong competition, we did come in about $205,000 over our estimated budget for the base bid, but the alternative pricing was strong, and therefore that's why we accepted those pieces of the project. Work will not start until after the 25-26 football season.
Tim, $3 million for stadium bleachers seems pretty high. How bad are the bleachers in terms of the condition? How urgent is this repair?
So each year, there's been inspections that are done and repairs were able to be made. The last recommendation was that we need to address it now versus continue to wait. That's why it became a priority for us.
They're pretty bad. They're dangerous. Yeah, no, they break like during football games. They'll rock too much and snap and people fall. They need a little bit of fixing. Sure.
More than a little bit.
I could do it for like $300. Give me like an afternoon.
Tim, how long do you expect the bleachers to then last? Or how long have these bleachers lasted us?
I can't answer that, but I can get the answer for you.
That would be great. I also struggle with this price tag, even though it is necessary. I guess my follow-up question would be, if you're starting after the football season, would you expect that it's done in time for graduation?
Yes.
Tim, is it necessary to replace both sides at the same time? I'm assuming that the home side closest to the parking lot gets a lot more use than the other side. Is it necessary to do everything at once, or what's your opinion?
I would say fiscally, it's better to do it because you'd have to mobilize choice. Delaying on the other side, I don't think prices are coming down anytime soon. We have the tariffs for the steel and aluminum that are coming in. God knows how long those will last. I'm sure the pricing that we got does reflect that, and assuming that is coming in. So just the mobilization of a crew coming in, starting up, permits, getting everything done, the equipment on site. It's better just to get them both done at the same time.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for the support.
Thank you.
All right, Finance Committee.
Yep. Informational item, we did have the first budget workshop, February the 10th. The situation for the 25-26 budget was explained. Thank you, Tim. And members of the board went over that. Again, as noted at the last meeting, this is going to be a challenging budget year. And we do have our next budget workshop on March the 10th. There will be 3 items to vote on next week. The 2 normal items for approval of financial reports and the list of payments. And then 17.3 is approval of the proposed Montgomery County Intermediate Unit Services budget. And I don't know, Tim, if you want to say anything about the basic budget.
So the service budget costs for next year will be $94,208, which is an increase of $3,623. Oh, sorry. It's an increase of $3,623, which is a 4% increase, which is the Act 1 index.
Any questions or comments? Anything further to the report? No? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to policy. Marshall, you'll take it. Okay.
The policy committee met on the February 18th and reviewed 11 policies. And you'll see that none of them are on the agenda tonight because it was too quick of a turnaround. Everybody knows that policies have to have a first reading and then also a second reading. So that first reading will start with the next cycle of meetings, the end of March, and then the second reading will be in the cycle after that.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay. Riak? Paul?
Thanks, Amy. REAC met on February 18th. We had a wonderful presentation from the administration on gifted and AP courses. Dr. Dewan, is there anything you want to highlight for that?
The committee meeting, as always, is rich with feedback and insights from the community members and teaching staff and parents and caregivers and board members who serve on that committee. And so following the presentation of the data, the floor is open to listen to feedback, to get insights, to get questions, which is always so rich. The other thing I just want to highlight is the March 17th community listening session that's coming up. And so Ms. Tor highlighted that at that meeting as well, and that'll be at the Penland Woods Community Building on March 17th. I believe the start time is 7 p.m. Yeah, that
Yep.
concludes my report.
Perfect. Thank you. And we just encourage everyone to come out and attend if possible. The in-person sessions are always great because there's a lot more feedback and communication back and forth. So it's a wonderful, wonderful time. So hopefully we'll get good attendance and hope everyone can make it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Paul. Any comments or questions? All right, thank you again. All right, we'll move on to health, wellness, and safety. Jean?
Yes, at this time, there are no informational items or action items.
All right, thank you. Going into reports of board representatives, Marshall's not here, so we won't do extracurricular. MCIU is this week, so I'll have something for next week. North Monco, anything?
We had a week. We had a meeting last week. I sit on the capacity subcommittee and we had that meeting first before our regular meeting, so I could cover that. As you know, there's a substantial wait list at North Monco, not necessarily from WIS, from the sending schools. So there's a pretty comprehensive kind of overhaul being done about like the programs they're offering, how many students are seeking them out. We're also doing kind of an assessment of the footprint at North Monco to make sure that it's being kind of utilized in the most efficient way possible. And then kind of the hope is with this subcommittee that they come up with a couple of or one or two options as to how to resolve some of the kind of wait list issues that are being seen at North Monco. So a lot more to come from that perspective.
And I attended the budget subcommittee meeting, and at this point, the proposed budget that will probably go through the sending schools is for a 3.79% increase in costs, which is slightly under the index.
And then our general meeting had just our general logistical and operational issues that we cover every month.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions?
Percentage that we pay in is like in line with the percentage of students we have in the school, correct?
So
Or in North Monco, rather.
Jim could keep us honest, but it is a direct correlation as to how we feed into the schools. So we have the lowest percentage of students feeding into the district, into the North Monco, but we're also kind of now moving to 9th grade. So I don't know how that may or may not impact things, who knows, but I don't know if I said anything incorrectly.
No. The annual operating budget is directly correlated to the percentage of students each district has. The paying for capital over the years is tied to relative wealth, in addition to relative participation. So which is a very much smaller number. The annual is the biggest one, and our percentages is that much smaller.
I mean, I guess our biggest concern is that if this capacity meeting or capacity issue means that we have to kind of go into capital aids or do something along those lines, we are probably the richest district sending students in. So our percentage rate, I'm probably saying some of this wrong. You're probably remembering this better.
No, if they do go into capital area, then our percentage compared to the other sending districts will be higher, but they're not that way yet.
No, but that's the only watch.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you again. Deanne, anything for PSBA or ERC?
I'll do it next week. How about that?
All right, that works. All right, we're at our second public comment period. No one in person and no one online. All right, we'll close public comment. Board comments. First, I would just note, and we'll get to you, Harrison. This weekend is the middle school musical. They're doing Mary Poppins. Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. and also Saturday at 2:30. And I know I saw Zeffie's post, the high school musical is coming up, and I know you have tickets, and I've seen a lot of other parents post that there's tickets for sale, and that's Into the Woods, right? So I'm excited to see both of these musicals. Zeffie has tickets here right now for anyone here. So both sound amazing, and I'm excited to see both of those. Harrison, you seemed very eager.
I do have a little bit of a comment here. So word on the street, is Dr. Crisfield might be retiring. And you know, when I heard about this, the first thing I thought was like, man, like what is this guy gonna do without me? So I found a solution. You might remember that we took a picture together. So I solved my end of the problem. So I've got, I'll never forget us. But it does get better because there is one for you. And so I'd like to
We must take pictures of this right now.
oh, we can get that one on our shirt.
Wait, you have your top.
I would just like to say that this is the
Oh, they both do.
student board representative getting the superintendent fired, not retired.
You have to go, you have to read, like, be right in front.
Recreate it.
You have to take a picture for Dr. Blair.
I do.
Wait, the other chair's in the way. Wait, one for Dr. Blair.
Absolutely. Harrison.
That concludes my board comment. I was so hot in that jacket the whole time.
You kept that secret really well. Wow. All right, do we have any other comments? That one's hard to beat. Sorry. No one else? No, we're done? Okay. All right, well then we'll just go for a motion to adjourn at this point. All right, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.